What's up, everybody? Coach Melanie Black here, and today we are going to be doing our nutrition class. We're going to be talking all about fat, good fat, bad fat, ugly fat, big fat lies, all the good stuff. So let me share my screen with you, and we'll get right into it. Gotta make my way all the way back to the top. We just finished nutrition class a little while ago. All right. Here we go. So I do these as live nutrition classes for my clients every single week, and then we turn them into a video and we put them up on YouTube. So if you like these nutrition classes, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click subscribe, like, the bell icon will let you know when I upload new ones, which is generally going to be about once per week. If you would like to become a member of the Nerd Gym, you can go to www.patreon.com/thenerdgym, and joining at any membership level will get you access to the live classes, give you the ability to ask questions, get early access to all of our podcasts and videos and materials and all the stuff and things. It's very, very cool. And big thank you to all of our patrons, all of our members, all of our Nerd Gym members who make videos like this possible. Thank you to all of you. All right, so today we're answering some questions from our members. What is dietary fat? Does fat make you fat? What are good fats and bad fats? Should I put butter in my coffee? And how much fat should I eat? So let's get to it. Let's talk about all these things. Starting off with, what is dietary fat? So dietary fat is the fat you eat, not the fat on your body. That's what we're talking about today, just to be clear. So fats are one of the three main macronutrients along with carbohydrates and protein. Fats contain essential nutrients in the form of omega-3s and omega-6 fatty acids. Essential nutrients are nutrients that you must get from dietary sources because your body cannot make them on its own, okay? You have to eat them because your body can't make them. So we talked about our essential proteins, our essential amino acids in a different video. If you're interested in essential amino acids or whether carbohydrates are essential or not, you can go ahead and click on those videos. I'll put the link in the description for those. All right, does fat make you fat? Okay. So this is really, it comes back to a calorie question. And again, I will refer you to our calorie video on our calorie class of how many calories do I need. For most people, most of the time, if you have fat loss goals, you must reduce your caloric intake. If you have weight gain goals, you must increase your caloric intake. That's almost universally true, and the exceptions, again, we get into that deeper in our calorie episode, video, whatever you want to call it. But here's the thing to consider with fat. Fat has 9 calories per gram, carbohydrate has 4 calories per gram, and protein has 4 calories per gram. So it's very calorically dense fat. It is a high energy food because calorie is just a unit of energy. And because fat has a high caloric density, one can easily exceed their caloric needs with fat and high fat foods. However, some people find that a high-fat diet is more satisfying and they don't want to eat as much, and that they naturally will reduce their caloric intake on a high-fat diet. So that's true for some people, but most people, in my experience, don't experience this, this feeling of satiety on a high-fat diet. So it's really a very personal decision. I do recommend that you try things out for yourself. Now, just to give you an idea of volume here, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, which is all fat, by the way, has 120 calories for 1 tablespoon. Half cup of cooked rice, which is mostly carbohydrate with a little trace amount of protein and fat. That's going to also have about 120 calories, but it's 8 times the volume. So 8 times the volume, you know, food amount wise as your tablespoon of olive oil, and then 2.5 ounces of chicken, which is going to be mostly protein and some fat, is going to have 5 times the weight of the tablespoon. So all 3 of these would have that same 120 calories. One is a tablespoon, one is a half cup, one is 2.5 ounces. So when we're talking about does fat make you fat, really what you should be asking is, is it going to cause me to exceed my caloric intake really quickly by adding those fats in? So that's really what we have to think about as far as, does fat make you fat? If all things being equal, if you're having, like, if you for fat loss need a 1,600 calorie per day plan. If you're getting that mostly from fat or mostly from carbohydrates and protein, you're still going to get that same caloric value, and you're going to lose you're going to lose body fat at the same rate. So fat does not necessarily make you fat, but it is double the calories, pretty much, more than double. All right, good fats and bad fats. All right, so what usually when people ask me about good foods, bad foods, like, I don't like to attach any stigma, dogma, whatever, like good, bad. I don't like talking about food in those terms. But if we're talking about good is something that is both useful to our body and essential, okay, so useful and essential versus bad would be something that is not useful / non-essential. That's how we're going to think of it in terms of actually answering this question the way it is asked. So good fats, definitely omega-3s and omega-6s. Those are your essential fatty acids. Those are the ones that your body cannot produce on its own. Those are the ones that you must get from food sources. So omega-6s are found in soybeans, corn, safflower, sunflower oils, nuts, seeds, meat, poultry, fish, and eggs. Most people get enough omega-6. Most Americans, average American diet, get enough omega-6. We don't generally have to worry about that one. The one that people tend to not get enough of is the omega-3s. And there's a typo in here. This should say omega-3 fatty acids are found in fish and other seafood, especially cold water fatty fish such as salmon, mackerel, herring, and sardines, nuts and seeds such as flaxseed, chia seeds, walnuts, and plant oils like flaxseed, soybean oil, canola oil. Okay, so the thing that you want to keep in mind with those omega-3s, a lot of people go to fish oil supplements. Totally fine, unless you're on any medications, especially blood thinning medications. Omega-3s from fish oil specifically, is a blood thinner. So if you are going to turn to this route of supplementation for your omega-3s, please check with your doctor before making dietary changes. Even if you're on any medications at all and making any dietary and exercise changes, this is not just something that like my insurance requires me to ask people. This is something that legit happens. In fact, just this past week, one of my clients, she was experiencing dizziness and weakness and having a really hard time. What it turned out is that because of the healthy lifestyle changes she is making, her blood pressure medication dose was too high. It was the right dose when she started the program. Now it's the wrong dose. So now she has to go back to her doctor and get things adjusted. This has happened a lot over the course of my career. So make sure that regardless of whatever medications you're taking, whether it is for blood pressure or depression, anxiety, whatever it is, if you're going to be doing active, healthy lifestyle changes, please check with your doctor regularly. So, okay, but again, this is typically why I recommend doing all of your fats from whole food sources whenever possible, especially if you are actively trying to lose body fat. I would avoid the oils, butters, anything that's refined. Get it all from fish, nuts, seeds, like actual whole food rather than the pressed oils out of those foods. Okay, what are good fats and bad fats? Okay, part 2, the bad fats. Trans fat, also called trans-unsaturated fatty acids or trans fatty acids, is a type of unsaturated fat that occurs in small amounts in meat and milk fat and became widely produced as an unintentional byproduct of the industrial processing of vegetable and fish oils in the early 20th century for use in margarine, and later also in snack food, packaged baked goods, and also frying for fast foods. Although trans fats are edible, consuming trans fats has been shown to increase the risk of coronary artery disease. And unlike saturated fat and cholesterol, there's not conflicting studies on this, guys. This has been like found to be absolutely true, that they are never going to be good for you. They're always going to be causing coronary artery disease or a contributing factor to the risk factor of coronary artery disease. So there's really, and there's no benefit to eating them. Okay, as far as we know today, there's no benefit of eating these at all. So, and again, nutrition science, you've heard me say it before, it's a young science. We're still discovering things every day. There's a lot of things there's conflicting studies about. This one, there's no conflicting studies about it. Trans fats are not great for you. They are edible. Eating small amounts of them ain't gonna kill you guys, but things that you're gonna find trans fats in usually are gonna be baked goods such as cakes, cookies, and pies, shortening, microwave popcorn, frozen pizza, refrigerated dough such as biscuits and rolls, fried foods including French fries, donuts, and fried chicken, non-dairy coffee creamer, and stick margarine. So just don't buy margarine. Avoid all that other junk if you can. Again, eating it once in a while, not gonna kill you. You're fine. I love me a good donut. I'm gonna still have a donut every once in a while, for sure. So just enjoy it as a treat, not as a regular staple of your diet, right? Okay, now let's talk about cholesterol and saturated fats, which are the one that's really super confusing for a lot of people, because for a while they were saying it's bad, 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 it's terrible for you, don't eat it, don't eat it. And then on the other hand, it might help with hormone production and other things. So, you know, they're not really sure. So these are not going to be essential fatty acids. Your liver can make them on their own. So saturated fat and cholesterol are important. They're a structural component of animal cells, membranes. Cholesterol also serves as a precursor for biosynthesis of steroid hormones. But it is not essential to get cholesterol and saturated fat from the foods you eat. Your liver makes it. Your liver makes it all on your own, all your body needs. There's a lot of conflicting studies on these ones, guys, about how much should be in a healthy human diet. Right now, the recommended daily value for saturated fats, cholesterol is 300 milligrams, or one egg yolk. Well, one egg yolk is 185 milligrams. So one egg yolk will almost get you there. So it's very easy to get enough according to the daily value. Yes, okay. So high cholesterol foods include coconut oil, liver, fatty meats, egg yolks, cream, bacon, cheese, and butter. Yeah, we really don't need any of these. They may be good for us. They may cause health problems. Nobody really knows. It's interesting to me that coconut oil was the big health food craze for a couple of years ago. It was like wild. Coconut oil was like glowing up for a little bit there. And really, you're probably going overboard if you're using coconut oil to cook everything in. So reduce the oils, guys. Okay, so that's our ugly fat then. Okay, so we've got our good fats, the omega-3s and 6s. We've got our bad fats, the trans fats, and then we've got our ugly fats. We don't really know. We don't know whether it's good or bad. It's just, but it's not essential. So yeah, don't go bonkers with it is the lesson there, I guess. Should I put butter in my coffee? Okay, well, butter, remember, is up here with this guy, right? So the so-called Bulletproof Coffee is a drink made popular by American entrepreneur and author Dave Asprey. This guy is not a nutrition scientist or a medical professional or a dietitian or anything. He is a self-proclaimed biohacker entrepreneur guy. He sells like stuff for the Bulletproof Coffee, Bulletproof Method, Bulletproof Diet. Like he's into all this stuff that he's trying to like hack his own biology with. So I appreciate that from the standpoint of somebody who is a proponent of self-experimentation, but there's no real scientific basis for Bulletproof Coffee as being like next level as far as what the claims are. So essentially, people who are proponent of this coffee, they say it makes them feel alert and less hungry throughout their day. That is probably actually true, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so coffee it has caffeine. Okay, caffeine is going to make you feel more alert. It is a stimulant. It is an appetite suppressant. Coffee is an appetite suppressant. So especially for people who are not used to coffee, this might be a very dramatic effect. And the butter and MTC oil, 2 tablespoons of each is what goes into a cup of Bulletproof Coffee. That's 450 calories of fat. That's like a small meal's worth of fat. So you're essentially drinking your breakfast You're drinking your breakfast and your caffeine all in one. So yeah, people who say, oh my gosh, it makes me feel so alert and I don't want to eat for part of my day. So I'm like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. You already got all the calories you need for the first part of your day. You don't have to worry about eating a meal on top of it. Now, while I like that part of the concept of the Bulletproof Coffee, I will tell you that when I've tried it for myself, didn't work out so well. Everybody's going to have a little bit different reaction to this stuff. I had some digestive problems from having high fat right first thing in the morning. So I will probably not be doing this again for myself. And again, it's using oils that are not essential. So should you put butter in your coffee? Go ahead, give it a shot, see if you love it. Especially for people who are trying things like intermittent fasting, this might be a good way to pack some calories in without expanding your stomach and making you feel like, okay, well, I can go a while without now. So try it out. I'm not a personal fan of the Bulletproof Coffee, so probably not. That's probably a no. Should you try it? Maybe. I don't know. Let's move on to the next question. How much fat should I eat? So first, before you find out how much fat you should eat, you have to find out how many calories you need for your goals. I cannot overstate this enough. If you go ahead and click over to our calories episode, find out how much calories you should be getting in for your goal before moving on to this section, moving on to this question. Okay, so there's high fat diets and there's low fat diets. We're going to take a look at two big extremes between these two. So how much fat should I eat? If I'm on a keto diet, which is like the highest end of fatty diets that you should ever be eating, whatever, 75% of total caloric intake would be coming from fat. So let's see here. If I'm on a 2,000 calorie diet, which for me is about a maintenance plan, and I'm going to multiply that times 0.75 to get 75%. That's 1,500 calories, 1,500 calories just from fat. So divided by 9, that's 167 grams of fat, guys. So so in this case, that's how you would figure that out. You would do the percentage from of calories from fat, and then figure out the number of grams of fat from that. And different foods will have different grams of fat in them. So keep in mind that like nuts are going to have some fat, but they're also going to have some protein, some carbohydrate. Same thing with your avocado, same thing with your salmon. It's going to have things besides fat in there. So if you are going to follow something like a strict ketogenic diet, be sure to do your calculations so you don't bump yourself in and out of keto, because that sucks. And we talk about that more in the carbohydrate episode, actually. So if you want to click back to carbohydrates, we talk a little bit more about the pros and cons of doing a keto diet. Okay. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, the very lowest you want to go on a low-fat diet is going to be about 20% of total calories from fat. So we had 166 grams if I'm on a 2,000 calorie diet from the keto diet. Let's see what it would be on this one. So 2,000 times 0.2, that's 400 calories from fat, divided by 9 is 44 grams of fat would get me there. So that's a very low fat diet. You are going to hit that very quickly, just if you are eating any proteins that have fats incorporated into them, you are going to hit that very, very quickly. That is a super low fat diet. Any lower than that, and then you're going to have other health problems to contend with. So you don't want to really go any lower. That's the lowest end of the threshold, 20%. Or any higher than 75%. So that's really where you want to stay between those two. My personal recommendation, what I do for most of my meal plans and most of my clients, is between 20 and 30% of total calories from whole food sources. So what that means is that 20 to 30% of total calories, so it's a fairly low fat diet, it's low-ish, but I usually, all my meal plans are somewhat flexible, so it kind of depends on the foods people choose, but they're designed for people to choose foods that will ultimately get them to no more than 30% of total calories from fat in most cases. And if they are getting them from whole food sources, they are going to get more bang for their buck nutritionally speaking. In other words, in most of my meal plans, I would say avoid the oils, even good oils like olive oils, and opt for actual olives, whole olives, salmon, avocado, nuts, seeds. All these things are great sources of fat, and they are going to be more satisfying than just having extra cooking oil in the pan, for example. So by getting them from whole food sources, most of my meal plans take the approach of high volume, low caloric density, so you feel like you're eating enough, you don't feel deprived, and that way you can be sure to get all of your micronutrients as well. Because while I do a lot of calculating based on your macronutrients, your protein, fat, and carbohydrate, we do also want to get those vitamins and minerals in there, and by way of choosing whole food, you are going to get all of the vitamins and minerals that you need without having to also on top of that take a supplement, which vitamin and mineral supplements may or may not metabolize well enough for you to get the benefit out of them anyways, because there's certain interactions with the foodstuffs we eat that allow you to get more benefit from those micronutrients. So in summation, let's do a quick review here before we end this video, y'all. Again, I'll put all the links to the other videos I mentioned in the description here. What is dietary fat? It's the fat you eat. Does fat make you fat? Only if you're going over in your calories. What are good fats and bad fats? Good fats would be your omega-3s, omega-6s. Bad fats would be your trans fats. Cholesterol and saturated, we don't know. We'll call that an ugly fat because it's in between, not necessarily good or bad. Should I put butter in my coffee? Yeah, probably no. And how much fat should I eat? Between 75% if you're on a high-fat diet to down to a low of 20% if you're on a low-fat diet. My personal recommendation, 20 to 30% from whole food sources, which if you're a member of the Nerd Gym, just go ahead and click on any of the meal plans, whether it's a power-up meal plan. If it fits your macros, find your individual meal plan, download it, you're all set. You don't need to think about all that. I've got all the things figured out for you already. Okay, cool. So I hope you found this fun and or interesting. If you have questions that you would like to ask, please become a member on www.patreon.com/thenerdgym and ask me your questions. Without our members, I wouldn't be doing these videos and answering these glorious nutrition questions. And I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next week. Okay, bye. All right, you gotta figure out how to stop recording now. Okay, stop recording.